Hey everybody, and welcome back to Tenza Motorsports. We are back here with our 986 Boxster. The car is still pulled apart. We're doing like 3 projects all at the same time right now, so hopefully everything goes well. Today we're going to be doing the suspension. The suspension is ECS Tuning's coilover set. It's actually a true front and rear coilover instead of like the E46 that we did just recently, where the rear is still a separate spring from the shock. So we're pretty excited about that. We'll be unboxing that in just a moment. Before we do, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, like if you enjoy this type of content. Also, make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We are doing giveaways. We're doing 2 E46 M3 steering wheels. I've got one of them ready to go. With it being springtime and a bunch of projects going on in the house, I've got one done, so I'll probably do the giveaway for one of the steering wheels first and do the other one a little bit later. But make sure to follow us on Instagram, Tenza_Motorsports. We do a whole bunch of other giveaways. Okay, no more talking, because we got to keep moving on this car. So we're going to unbox this, show them off just a little bit, we'll get them in the car. This is not a very complicated suspension to do. Should be able to jack up the car, remove the tire, pull the suspension out, and replace it. I work almost exclusively on BMW, so hopefully it's not too much different. Should be a fairly similar collar at the bottom, the front, a couple bolts on the top, and the back, kind of a similar setup. So let's get that taken care of. All right, so here is the suspension. Obviously, we've already looked at it and making sure that it wasn't damaged. We received this probably about a week ago in the mail, and everything looks to be good. So let's just get a couple of these unboxed. I honestly don't even know which one's front and rear yet, but let's take a look. They feel to be good quality, just like the last ones. It is nice. They come with new nuts. There is the camber adjustments on the top hats. You also have your dampening here. Ride height is separate than the spring rate, which is always nice. And let's unbox a couple more of these and see if they're any different. The only differences I can really see here is that one of them is kind of this triangle shape here and the other one is round. So one of them's the front, one of them's the back. Removing the OEM ones will tell us that. If not, we'll have to look it up. But really nice camber adjustments front and rear. For right now, we're probably just going to center the car out. If anything, we'll add just a little bit of camber. We don't want a ton of camber, but like 1.5 to 2 degrees is pretty standard for a lot of track cars. So yeah, we're really I'm just dying to get this on. So enough talking, let's go pull the old stuff out and we'll get this installed. All right, so unfortunately my GoPro died, and so we don't have any more time-lapse footage, but the front is done, the rear is almost done, and as of tonight, because we're running out of time a little bit, we're going to put down this side. It'll be kind of cool, because we'll get to see the new ride height versus the stock ride height. We're gonna put this side of the car down here in just a little bit and show off what it looks like. And then once we do the other side, we'll come back to this video. This will all be in the same video, and we'll show the car done. Now, with this suspension here, it's pretty low. There was some things I was reading in the comments on, in the review section on ECS Tuning's website that was talking about these suspensions, said that they sit really, really low, and a lot of people didn't like that you couldn't go much higher. For us, a race car, we're not super worried about that, but we do have it on almost its lowest setting. So we spun it in 5 times and then locked the collar down, and that's what it's gonna be sitting at. The old suspension, the front and rear old suspension is off. One thing I mentioned earlier that we didn't go over quite just yet is that the front is the kind of the triangle shape, the rear is the round. So yeah, pretty straightforward stuff. The old suspension is really tall, so it's hard to get out, but we were able to get it out. It is nice to be able to get underneath here and finally see what we need to do on this car. So we're gonna be doing end links at some point. We're gonna be doing a larger roll bar and replacing the control arms. All that's gonna need to be done on this car at some point. So stay tuned for those videos. So there it is on the ground. Now, very similar to when we did the E46, the black M3, there is basically no tuning in this at all. All we did was set the ride height to one of its higher settings. And I can see why people would be kind of upset that the car doesn't sit very high, especially if you're trying to daily drive one of these. That in the back especially is pretty low. The front really doesn't look that much different, but we're gonna go over the other side real quick. So just kind of keep in mind what that looks like. There's the front. Again, the front's actually really not that much different. So this is low, but it's not nearly as low as the other side. Right off the bat, it's probably about an inch, maybe an inch and a half. And I don't know if this is actually stock ride height because the suspension is leaking so bad. I mean, every time we touched underneath this car, it was just like putting our hands in a bucket of oil because the suspension was leaking so bad all the way down the suspension components. And yeah, so the old suspension on this was definitely bad. It was pretty soft. So here's what the stock side looks like. We'll go back over to here to the other side, and then we will show the car here in a little bit with all 4 corners done.
Bam!